And we're live on Facebook. We're here. It's Car Con Carne. I'm James Van Ostel, and Car Con Carne in quarantine. Quarantine Con Carne. Sponsored by C&H Financial Services. C&H Financial Services can help you, the business owner, be it small, medium, or large business, can help you eliminate 100% of the fees associated with accepting credit or debit cards. Remember this website, freeprocessingnow.com. That is C&H Financial Services. Thanks to them for sponsoring this show. Tonight, my guest is a guy who I've known for many years, but it's been a while since we spoke, and he actually became super successful in the time we weren't speaking. So draw your own conclusions from that. It is producer, songwriter, composer, Oh Hush. Oh, hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Great. So you came up in the Chicago music scene. I want to talk about that, but I almost kind of want to work backwards. You are a twice Grammy-nominated person.
That's Grammy losing, by the way.
Listen, I think just being nominated for a Grammy is such a small group of people. It's an elite club in and of itself. So I appreciate the self-deprecating, which is part of being a Chicagoan, I think. But I mean, sure. Let's be honest, it's pretty cool to be in that.
It's something my parents think is cool, and my wife, and like just the people that don't like, oh, you're Grammy nominated, you're special, you know. So it's like, okay, I'll take it. It's all good.
See, finally, I was able to relate to my children with my podcast. Usually, you know, like last night, I'm like, I've got this doom metal band called Huntsman. Not interested. Hey, I have a guy who worked on the Lego Batman soundtrack and was Grammy nominated for it. Really? Which Lego Batman song? And then suddenly, so you're bringing families together.
I mean, listen, that was the biggest thing in the world because I got two daughters, 4 and like 1.5. I'm not a hero around here, but I think they think everybody's dad writes songs in movies. So they say, oh, whose dad wrote that song? Did you write that? No, that's somebody else's dad. Not. So they just think that's what everybody's dad does.
So let's start with Lego Batman. Let's start with that song. Let's start with Friends or Family. Tell me about being involved with that project.
I mean, as we go back, everything that I did for the previous 15 years is brought me to moments like that. But it was just a phone call I got from a music supervisor that said, hey, he's like, no pressure. We're looking for an end credit for the new Lego movie. And he's like, we already tried, he listed like Justin Tranter, like he listed all the big songwriters, and none of them nailed it, but we think you might be able to. I'm not even in the same league as those guys. So he's like, and you got like a day, can you come up with something by tomorrow? It's last minute. We kind of need something. And I knew this guy from my publisher, and I had a track laying around that I'd made for another end credit that didn't go anywhere. So I just stripped the lyric and melody off it. And in literally about 30 minutes, I wrote the chorus. And I'm like, this is either right or wrong. I'm just going to send it in and see what happens. So send it to him. He's like, cool. I'm sitting with the director right now. I'll play it and I'll let you know. So, so about an hour later, he writes me back. Everybody loves it. Write some verses for it. And I think this will be great. And I've heard that so many times over the last 20 years that everything falls apart, everything. So I didn't put much stock in it. And then it was like verses. I called in a co-writer to help me with some verses and stuff like that. And then it's okay. Now the director wants to get on the phone, talk through some changes. And director's name's Chris McKay. He's an unbelievable, he's just genius. He's from Chicago as well. He had all these brilliant ideas. And so then it took about 3 months of 2 or 3 calls a week with him, editing and going through the lyrics. Because it was like, it's important with a movie to tell the story of. So there was specific things like, should we change "You're My Best Friend" to "Bat Friend"? Because it's Batman and shit. So we did that. We did a version with Bat Friend in there and all that. And after like literally 40 or 50 rounds of changes, we got thin. One other funny thing is then we did a rap, and they're like, oh, Will Arnett needs to do the rap for this thing. It's like Christmas Eve. They're like, Will's going to cut the rap. Christmas Eve, why don't you just, just FaceTime into it? So I'm in there. He doesn't want to do it to the track. He wants to rap in free air, in space. No click track, no track. He's like, I'll say the words and you cut them into the song. So I'm producing Will Arnett's vocal over Skype, trying, I don't want to give him too much, like, can you slow down, look at this? But he's got like 30 minutes to do the whole thing. And somehow it happened. I mean, literally the whole time I kept thinking, this is going to fall apart. This is going to fall apart. And then the whole idea was Joe Jonas is going to sing this song, or the Jonas Brothers, they're going to come back and do it. And then it gets to be too late. And they're like, well, we'll just keep your voice on this song. And I had given up my rock star dream years ago. And suddenly I'm like the artist on the end credit of Lego Batman. So
That is so great. That is so great. And really, the lyrics are great. In the darkness, I am brooding. You're adorably intruding. I don't mind if I'm not irate because we both agree I'm great. Tortured soul, dark as gold, but guess who's got that kind of role? Now is his time to be a star. Let Alfred loose on his guitar. This is awesome stuff.
I mean, it was like the funnest song in the world to write too, because I'm a huge Batman fan. Like,
Who isn't?
It's probably, I mean, it's the coolest thing. Yeah, it was great. And it was, yeah.
I left that movie, which I would have seen without kids, by the way. I left that movie thinking, Will Arnett may be the best Batman of our time.
I mean, I'm biased.
I like him better than Christian Bale.
He's the best. He's unbelievable. And like, I mean, the voice is he's got the voice.
The voice. And the secret to a good kids movie is making sure the adults are entertained. Like they nailed it.
I got 2 kids and we watch movies all the time. And it's like, wait, yeah, right. Exactly. That one is awesome for adults, but my kids love it too.
Exactly. There have to be those lines that sail past the kids, but land with the adults.
Right. There's the suggestive, slightly. Right. Those are the great ones.
So we're on Facebook Live right now. Christian says Batman is greater than Superman. Totally agree. I want to thank David for joining us. Also Eric and Andy and Chris, Jeffrey, Natalie, Mike, and John, who are all watching on Facebook Live. That right there is Oh Hush, twice Grammy nominated. Not twice losing, twice Grammy nominated. All right. So we're going to get into some of your more recent stuff, but let's take a step back. I wanted to talk about Lego Batman first because it's Lego Batman. I first came to know you in Chicago. You were in a band called Escape from Earth. And at the time, I thought, well, this band has all the right stuff. This band's going to go stratospheric. They leave Earth. This band is going to really make things happen. It didn't quite work out that way. Tell me about coming up in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, we started out probably like 2001-ish, 3, somewhere around there. And we slowly got good and got better and built a following and had a couple of good big breaks along the way. And we did demos with the guys from Filter, producers from Filter, then Bob Ezrin, who did The Wall, Pink Floyd.
Oh, dude, Alice Cooper,
right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I have Bob Ezrin stories for days, but and we could sell out the Metro and House of Blues, and we were like, it got to the point where it's like, I don't know if we were good or not, but at least by industry standards, we were doing as well as you possibly could.
You were right there.
Right. And we showcased for labels, and we played for them, and we thought we were close with a bunch of them. And I don't know why. Maybe we just weren't good enough. Maybe it was bad timing. Maybe it was I don't know. And it's okay. I mean, it was just we couldn't get over the hump for whatever reason. It was unbelievable, and it was great, and it actually has informed a lot of what I do now. But just for whatever reason, couldn't get over the hump, and it's fine. That's what it was.
Well, the city treated you well.
Totally. I mean, you got Q101 did, you did, a lot of the local, radio people did. It was the fans did. It was an unbelievable, run that we had, and some of the best memories of my life.
So, Escape from Earth goes away. Now, did you go straight from that to Christian rock?
No. I went and started with a couple of guys from Escape from Earth, a project called Oh Hush. So it was it was a secret band that we started on MySpace, and didn't say anything about who was in the band, and it was just marketed, put out a single. We just literally all day on MySpace marketing it. We had the craziest thing we did was we sold a t-shirt, and then as you got a t-shirt, you got a piece of a puzzle, and there was a 100-piece puzzle, and the fans had to come together online to assemble this puzzle. This is like 2006, so it was not quite as easy to do as it is.
Right, but that is like advanced level marketing for the time.
Totally right. I mean, everything that things that people take for granted now, we were doing 15 years ago.
Yeah,
14 years ago, and it blew up. And everybody thought it's. And actually, I purposefully did not market it in Chicago because I knew people would know. Oh, Chris's voice. Yeah, he's that crappy singer. I've heard him before. People would identify it. So I kept it out of Chicago, and literally, so then labels are calling, And like, who is this secret band? Is it Pete Wentz? Is it Butch Walker? And we had a girl sing on a song. Is it Haley from Paramore? Like, it got nuts. And then an A&R over at Warner said, I gotta sign this thing. Gotta sign this singer. This is too big. We were like the #1 band on MySpace for a period of time. Crazy. And she brings it to her boss, Mike Karen, and Mike Karen's had an A&R and he's got a publishing deal. He's like, I'm not fucking signing a secret band. This is the stupidest thing in the world. But I love the songs. Does he want to do a publishing deal? And I'm like, I don't want to tour. I'm done with all that crap. So publishing deal was like, okay, perfect. That's what I wanted. And that's, I mean, even before in the Escape from Earth days, I was always a writer and I wrote for things outside of the band.
Yeah.
So I kind of always felt like that was going to be where I'd, when I'm 40, I'll do that, or whatever. And it was long before then that it happened. But so I signed a publishing deal with Artist Publishing Group, which was owned by Mike Karen, and he was the head of Warner A&R worldwide. He's a genius. And so that was sort of the launch of, hey, now I went from band. I still kind of did the band. I mean, Oh Hush is actually the artist in the Lego Batman song, but then that's when I became kind of a producer and songwriter.
Okay. So then next step after that was?
So next step after that was writing and producing. And then I think the next big break I had shortly after signing, two things happened. One, CeeLo cut a song of mine and I hear it and everything. It's supposed to be the end credit of her movie, all these things. CeeLo gets dropped from her label like a month later and the song goes away. You think
drop CeeLo?
I mean, listen, who dropped CeeLo, right?
Right.
So
there's always room for CeeLo.
She takes up a little bit of room, but anyway, no. But I mean, it was actually like, oh, so things fall through and bad things happen. So I got that taste early, which was good. So it used to be let down. But shortly thereafter, here's another Chicago story. My publisher said, hey, we need a song for the end credit of Twilight Eclipse. And Gnarls Barkley's going to do the song and take a shot at it. And I saw him back here and I meet with my buddy Rob Kleiner from the band Tubbering, who's a Chicago band.
Yep.
He's a super successful producer now too. And we sit down, write a song in a day, cut it the next day. I send my manager the demo. I'm like, what do you think? He's like, don't like it at all, but whatever. Send it in, just whatever, just see what happens. Send it in. A day later, best song I've heard. CeeLo just heard it, cutting it tomorrow night. Played it for Alex Petsavas over at this music supervisor, loves it, and literally like 2 weeks later they were performing it on like one of the nightly shows, and it was one of the end credit songs for the movie.
And then that soundtrack got the Grammy nomination.
Wait,
which one?
I'm trying to remember.
What were you nominated for? Oh Hush.
I forget. I got to Google it. I think that must have been it. Yeah. So that one was my first Grammy nomination. You're right.
I'm here to help. But what's interesting, after kind of slugging it out as a band in Chicago for X amount of years, it's interesting how different things became when you moved to that other side. The gratification was much more instant. Like, it's not waiting and slugging it out. It's, hey, can you cut this or write this? And then 48 hours later, it's all systems go.
That is the exception rather than the rule. I could give you easily 100 stories of something was going to happen and it fell through. and I can give you those are not as fun to talk about or hear for that matter. But honestly, that is the exception. Although Rob, my co-writer, he thought, wait, this is how it happens every time. You write a song, you get an end credit, you get a big thing, you get a Grammy nomination. Do the next one.
I'm going to recommend this to all my musician friends. What are you guys doing? This is the way to go.
Right. So it was an early success for me. And then it was like, I didn't have a lull. I had things happen, but I was like, oh, okay. So reality is this is actually, maybe a once in a lifetime thing. So yeah, it doesn't work that way very often, but occasionally it does.
Occasionally it does. I want to say hi to Jackie, also Christian, Scott. Karen says, hey, Chris, Robert and Dick, Herb says EFE baby, Escape from Earth.
Yeah.
Let's see. Judy says hi. Erin Marie says such great memories at those Escape from Earth shows for sure.
Yeah.
And then Natalie a little further up says Will Arnett was a fantastic Batman. He really was. He really was.
He's the
Forget
best.
Ben Affleck. Will Arnett, he's our guy.
He's my guy for sure.
All right. So at some point in between all this, your timeline is just so densely filled with stuff. It's hard to keep track. You did a lot of work for, I want to say, tween type TV shows.
So like, yeah, I'm trying to think like Austin and Ally.
Yes, exactly.
Zendaya, a lot of stuff on Nickelodeon. I can't even remember it. A lot of that was production and mixing, and that was interesting. It was a friend of mine who I think he was sort of the guy in, and he was pulling me into add production, produce up songs, mix those songs, and those are great. Like, I mean, again, I don't want to like corporatize what I do too much, but those are, they're fun. They're fun jobs. They get on TV. They're cool things that you can show your, like, again, now that I have kids, it's cooler to show them.
Yeah.
Like we're watching old Austin and Ally and I'm like, hey, there's the song, one of the songs that they don't care that much, but I'm trying to convince my kids I'm cool. Okay.
Well, I'm sold on it. So
okay. Yeah.
As an adult, I'm sold on it. Talk to me about Weezer. Talk to me about Happy Hour.
Yeah, Weezer. I got, so that one's crazy. I made a beat, just an instrumental track, and I think my manager sent it over to Crush Management several years ago. And it was just like, they liked it, cool, whatever, sitting around. A year later, I had a meeting with him, and he's like, "Oh, we still like this one track," and I had no idea which one it was, and still nothing. And then I get an email 6 months later, says, "Hey, so Train is working on this track. I got a Train top line," and I'm like, "Oh, Train, okay, that would be amazing." 6 months pass. "Hey, so Weezer, do you still got that track? Weezer's working on this one." And I'm like, "I thought it was Train." He's like, "Well, it's Weezer now." I'm like, "Okay." So again, okay, great. Another year passes. So
the way he should have said that was, "Sorry, that project got derailed," but here we are. Train derailed. Sorry, I'm here all day. And with that, I lost him completely. Stupid dad joke suddenly killed the Zoom chat. I know my dad joke completely torpedoed our connection.
Hello.
All right, so we're experiencing. I'm here, but your screen is frozen. You're here. So I'm on the line with Oh Hush, producer, twice Grammy nominee, and I'm here. We're
okay.
Good.
You cut off a second. Internet got weird.
So it's because I made a stupid joke. It killed the internet. So you find out the Train isn't happening, and then Weezer is the way you're heading.
So Weezer's on it, and they send me the song and say, "Hey, can you kind of produce this up?" And I hear it, and it's like a really rough demo that Rivers sang over my track. I was like, "Okay, it sounds kind of rough, but I'll work on it." So I work on it. They go, "Okay, we're gonna try to get it on this album. We're gonna get it on this album. Get it on this album." It doesn't make the previous album. So like literally 4 years have passed, or it probably started in 2014. 4 years have passed and nothing with this song. Then I get another call 2 years ago with, "Hey, this is going to be a single. Butch Walker's producing it, but we need you to add more stuff to it. Just get it a little bit more Weezerized and blah, blah, blah." So I do it, and I assume this is going to fall through again. And then again, I sent it back 2 months later. It's, "Hey, here's the final mix. It's going to radio in a couple weeks." And I mean, so this sounds like but literally it was years of working on this. It was supposed to be on the previous album. It didn't make it. Unbelievable that they pushed that hard to keep like the song was alive that long. And yeah, so then it was a single, and that album got nominated for a Grammy. Second loss of my career. And actually, here's a fun thing. It's going to be in an episode of The Simpsons May 10th here, coming up in 2 weeks or a week and a half.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like this. So the Lego Batman was the coolest thing in my life. This might be the coolest thing in my life because Weezer is performing the song as cartoons in the episode.
That is magnificent. And I mean, coming up as you did and the time you did, I mean, you probably remember when the Blue album came out. So it's
totally
what a wildly influential album that was. And to have the band play your creation and write it pretty far and hard, it's got to feel amazing.
No, it's unbelievable. Now here's the funny part of the industry is I never sat in the same room with Rivers or Butch Walker or the band. I worked here, sent tracks. I mean, those guys, they're not super into like, "Hey, let's write with this younger, writer guy." But they'll take a track and they'll work on a track and you kick it back and forth. Ironically, I keep telling people that my quarantine work is basically the same workflow as what I always do, which is
I believe that.
Lock myself in the basement, email calls, send stuff around, and and never actually see a human being in person. And it's
Now, I've met Rivers and Butch a couple times a piece. Rivers always struck me as very quiet and introspective. Butch is like a pure charisma monster. He's a being of pure charisma. Like you want to hang with that dude.
Butch Walker is like probably my number one musical hero. He's like, he had the career that I kind of always wanted, which was successful band, which I didn't quite have, but whatever. And then I'm kind of the really, really poor version of Butch Walker. So
you're selling yourself short again. The charming Midwestern self-deprecation. Christian says, "Ha ha ha! True life of an engineer. Your quarantine existence pre and post pandemic." Natalie says, "Behold the awesome power of the dad joke," which completely shut down our chat. I want to say hi to Emily. Karen says, "So proud of you, Chris." Dan Doherty is watching. Scott Sweeney says, "Hey, I know this dude. He could be talking about either of us. We don't know."
All right.
So in the world of Oh Hush, what's next? Do you have like a full plate of stuff to kind of work through?
I mean, so the Weezer thing's coming out. I've been doing a lot of sync work recently, which is like, I think once you have the Lego Batman thing, you start getting the calls for the kids shows, which is like, some people dread that, and I think it's great. I've been doing a lot for Nickelodeon recently. I actually have a theme song for a show called Abby Hatcher, Fuzzly Catcher or something. And it's like a 4-year-old show, but
awesome.
It's great.
Awesome.
I'm working on some stuff for the Loud House movie. It's coming out in probably a year. I have artists that I work with too. Again, just collaborate with people all over the place. But I'm focusing probably a little bit more on TV, film, movie type stuff recently, and maybe a little bit less on artist things at the moment. But that's just maybe where the wind's been blowing.
Yeah, it's the ebb and flow of the industry you're in.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sure there are a lot. I know there are a lot of musicians, independent musicians, who listen and who watch the show as I do it. For one who is struggling or not sure about his or her place in the universe, what piece of advice would you give?
I mean, that's me every other day. So I mean, I'm still there. There's days that I still am like, I quit, I suck, I can't come up with anything, I'm the worst. I go cry about it, and then the phone rings the next day. It's like, okay, I got to go back to work. I mean, that's where literally I'm there regularly. I think, and I talk to people that are more successful than me that are there regularly, and I think it's just part of being a creative person. And I still think you can in this business. Like, I never was the most talented writer or singer or anything. I was good, but I kind of just outworked people, and I developed skills that were sort of around music as well. And it's like, just outwork other people. Like, if you're not good enough at something, just work on it. Like, if your production skills need work, watch YouTube videos for 30 minutes a day and then work after that. Or if your lyric writing sucks, just do it every day. And it's like, I mean, when I started my band's songs, I was listening back, some of them were brutal. I mean, a lot of them were brutal. But we just kept slugging it out, and eventually you start getting good. And then people start to take notice, and then things happen. It's not, and I mean, so here we are 15 years later or whatever from Escape from Earth days. That's the thing, most people quit before they're 5 or 10 years later, and they get out of it. The key is pushing through that dip, and then it starts to go up. But most people quit in that initial dip, and it's like, you gotta push through that if you really want it. I mean, that's what it comes. If you don't really want it, that's fine too. I think it's okay to do something else. I mean, in fact, I would recommend, the music industry kind of breaks your heart a lot. So I don't know.
I can't relate. I'm in radio, so I have no idea what you're talking about. But I think it's a cliche, but it's true. I mean, the people who are successful in their chosen fields are those who don't give up.
Right.
They keep at it.
Right.
They commit themselves. Like, the only way I can't go around this. The only way I can do this is through it, and that's it.
Exactly. I mean, literally, I remind myself that all the time. I'm like, I feel like I'm not there. I just got to keep pushing through whatever lull that I think I'm even having. It's a lot of it's mental too, and it's maybe not a lull. It's just, I'll tell my manager, I'm like, he's like, dude, you're writing great stuff. The last 3 songs have been great. I'm like, okay, didn't feel like it. He's like, but that's part of it too. Just it's a mental game, and you gotta remember that your brain is sometimes on the other team, and you gotta fight it.
Exactly. All right. Since we started the conversation talking about Batman, we're going to wrap up the conversation talking about Batman.
All right.
Favorite Batman villain?
Oh man. I mean, I like the old school Batman. I mean, Joker seems like the obvious answer, but Riddler maybe.
Interesting choice.
Riddler.
His costume got a lot cooler in the 90s with the animated series.
Right.
With the hats and the blazer.
Right.
Much more stylish.
As a kid, when I was watching, it was there were reruns when I was watching it, but I liked that old school Batman, like the riddles and solving the whole thing. That was
like the 1966 TV show, like the
yes,
Adam
right.
West. Oh yeah,
right.
Frank Gorshin being maniacal.
Yes, that's when I fell in love with Riddler. Yeah.
Who's yours? Well, hang on. My thought as you're talking about that, there's nothing that says self-confidence like wearing a unitard like the villains on that 66 show. Like Frank Gorshin had to walk into that room just feeling like I am a powerful, successful man, and I don't care what's showing here. For me, it's almost always been Ra's al Ghul, introduced in I think Batman number 232, Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams, classic megalomaniacal, bent on world destruction and rearranging. His daughter Talia was a romantic foil for Batman. Big fan.
Yeah.
Was that a little too nerdy for you?
Super nerdy, but I mean, I love that you're that deep.
Oh yeah,
that's real deep.
Not the first time I've heard that. All right, so DJ Oh Hush is here. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we got to reconnect after what seems like forever.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Awesome talking.
I want to thank everyone who checked in on Facebook Live tonight. Denise is a recent arrival. Maxton, Giorgio, and Brian, and Emily, if I haven't said hi to her. Thank you all for joining the chat. That is Oh Hush. Go consume his music. Go watch some kid shows and celebrate him. Go rent yourself the Lego Movie on Amazon tonight. And thank you for watching. I'm going to kill the Facebook Live.